The Wes Penra Papers. A Journey Through the Multiverse. The First Level of Learning. http://wespenry.com. Present and Future Challenges, PFC, Section. PFC Paper Number 2, The Remarkable Michael Lee Hill Case. By Wes Penra, Friday, May 6, 2011. 1. Abstract. Shortly after Michael Lee Hill, a 39-years-old musician and filmmaker from Ohio, made contact with me, he was all over the news. Fox 8 wanted to interview him. He was in the Daily Mail, one of Great Britain's biggest newspaper online. WikiLeaks brought up his case, Coast to Coast took him on, Cleveland Scene magazine made an interview with him, Whitley Strieber's Unknown Country posted his story, and he was just now selected to be included in the new Ohio Kent State University book Cleveland Stories True Until Proven Otherwise, and much more. So who is this man, why this sudden interest in him, and why am I bringing him up here, writing a whole paper about him? Well, it all started in the summer of 2006 with his UFO sightings over Lake Erie, one of the Great Lakes. For the UFO enthusiast, it may in the beginning seem like just another UFO case among thousands of others and will fairly soon be put to rest. However, as it showed, there was no doubt that these UFO sightings were real. First of all, Lake Erie is a no-fly zone area, because there is a nuclear power plant there, and since 9/11, there is a 5-mile wide no-fly zone around power plants, nuclear or coal. Michael's hometown is where the CEI electric power plant is, and the Perry nuclear power plant is around 18 miles east and is also situated right on Lake Erie. Still, Hill managed to take clear videos of UFOs hovering over the lake in their usual erratic flying patterns that no known human aircraft can do. And moreover, Michael says it's like they know he's filming them, and that they are posing for him. This is quite unusual, but would still be forgotten after a day or two if there wasn't a lot more to the story. The weird things started when Bill Burns of the UFO Hunters group contacted him and another young man from Virginia, who was former military, now discharged for very specific reasons, which we will go into now. 2. Two comparable experiences, two comparable blood disorders. In January 2011, the History Channel published a documentary on Michael and the young ex-military man from Suffolk, Virginia, Terrell Copeland. This whole documentary is uploaded to YouTube and it's a very good idea to watch it before you continue reading the rest of this amazing story. Amazingly enough, it also appears that Michael had a face-to-face meeting with Marduk himself, or someone who presented himself as him. But before we go deeper into Michael's case, let's introduce Terrell Copeland to the picture. 2.1 The Terrell Copeland Case. Terrell Copeland is 25 years old, and was discharged from the military due to a strange blood anomaly. The military doctors could not find the cause to it, but considered it reason enough to discharge him altogether. So what was this blood anomaly all about? In fact, it releases massive amount of CK, creatine kinase, into the blood, which in turn superoxygenates the bloodstream. Normally, this condition will create a lot of problems for the person, such as muscle damage. Or usually it's the other way around, severe muscle damage leads to high CK levels. Terrell's CK levels were as high as 2000 UL. For a normal person, the level rarely reaches over 200 UL. This is all recorded in Terrell's military records, which are included and exposed in the YouTube video mentioned above. However, Terrell has no muscle damage. And he is in perfectly health. What differentiates him from a normal person, though, is that he has had a number of UFO encounters, both close to his home and away from it. He has also had his home broke into and strange people threatening him. Being an ex-military with access to military flycraft, he says that what he's seen is not military. And indeed, strange, similar phenomena, also discussed in the movie, occurred here during George Washington times, and are recorded as such. I doubt those were military. Videos are showing how big orbs in the sky are hovering around and sometimes split into two. In general, these UFOs are showing patterns that seem way beyond current technologies, even the secret ones from TTPs, alien technology transfer programs. Bill Burns of UFO Magazine and UFO Hunters is an interesting character in his own right. He seems to know a lot more than he is letting out, as we shall see in the Michael Lee Hill case later in this paper. However, it starts already with the Copeland interview. During the interview on History Channel, he is telling Copeland that Copeland is an alien hybrid. He is told by his colleague in the video that this is highly controversial, but Burns is saying it to Copeland with great emphasis and with no hesitation, like it is the plain truth, and he knows it. Copeland himself is not surprised, and it indicates to him as well. 2.2 Michael Hill's sightings over Lake Erie and blood test comparisons. Then, Bill Burns and the UFO Hunter team go on by visiting Michael Lee Hill in his home in Ohio, close to Lake Erie. Michael is putting on his coat and takes the whole team to the exact places where he has encountered his own UFO sightings over the Great Lake. What is remarkable to the team, and to the viewer, is that Michael's sightings look almost identical to the ones Copeland had. The two-person sightings are compared in the above video. Michael also tells the team that he has had encounters his entire life, hence his own personal interest in UFOs and ETS. However, Michael is not alone to have seen these objects over Lake Erie. They were seen already in 1988 by Sheila Baker, and it was noted in the newspapers from that time, also evidenced in the video, Cleveland Plain Dealer, July 12, 1992. Even the Coast Guard witnessed this event, and UFO Hunters are showing a copy of their report on History Channel. Michael also tells the UFO Hunter team that he has had some very real close encounters with aliens whom have done experiments on him against his will, just like we've heard about many times before from other abductees. Still, Michael's experiences go way beyond what is exposed in the History Channel video, which we shall explore in a moment. But first, let's continue with what was revealed in the video. Dr. Ted Ackworth got a copy of both Copeland's and Hill's videos to compare them with each other. He had never seen anything like it before, and couldn't explain what these objects were. Bill Burns gets quite excited over Michael's story and asks him if he wants to have his blood drawn, because he suspects Michael has the same blood anomaly as Copeland. Michaels agrees to do this and they go to a laboratory at Massachusetts General Hospital. Copeland joins the team. The line of thoughts here is that if Michael has the same anomaly as Copeland, is he a hybrid? They are tested by one of the leading doctors in the cardio/pulmonary field, Dr. David Sistrom. Copeland, as well as Hill, are going through the same tests to see if Copeland's anomaly is still present and if Michael has it too. Both tests show that they both have an elevation of CK in their blood. Dr. Sistrom and his team do not want to speculate as of why the levels are high. There is no muscle damage in any of the two persons, and nothing else seems wrong with them either. It remains a mystery. 3. Face-to-faceless encounter with Marduk. I had no idea who Michael Hill was when he contacted me one day on my Facebook. He apparently had read up on some of my material and felt inclined to make contact with me. He told me that the sightings over Lake Erie were just a small part of a much bigger story. He also claimed he's had face-to-face communications with the aliens who fly the spacecrafts, encounters of the fifth kind. He also asks me to keep in mind that he had no knowledge about the Anunnaki at the time, and he hadn't read Sitchin's books. He had read somewhere about Nibiru, but didn't know what to believe, so he just decided not to give it too much attention, and if it is real, time will tell. Michael says that when there were indications that the ETS were of the Anunnaki, he found it strange, but on the other hand, he didn't know what or who they were. However, in July of 2008, Michael had a face-to-face experience with these people, and now he does believe. He says he had a meeting with members of the ruling family of the Anunnaki to discuss a change in Anunnaki leadership, and what the next step will be for humankind as we go from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. In short, the meeting was about if we humans are ready for a disclosure of the alien presence on Earth or not. Are we ready to be disclosed to the Anunnaki and other alien races? Of course, this sounds very odd. Why Michael, a musician and a filmmaker among thousands and thousands of others. Hints: blood anomaly, hybrid, pre-selection, agreements between lives. This is how it all started, and it developed into one of the strangest encounters I have ever read or heard about. Still, Michael is also one of the most credible witnesses I know of, and I have no doubts whatsoever that what he is saying to me are his true perceptions of what he has experienced. In July of 2008, a friend of Michael's took him on a camping trip to New York. They were heading for an annual event, called Sirius Rising Festival. Keep in mind that the A.M.I/Anunnaki are originally from Sirius, something that will show relevant. Michael knew nothing about this connection at the moment. His friend, in his turn, had a friend called Loki. Michael is not sure of the spelling. Loki is the name of a Scandinavian Asa god, by the way, Asarrr being another name for the Syrians, according to Robert Morning Sky in his Terra Papers. Michael says it's pronounced something like Loki, whom also joined in with them at the festival. Suddenly, Loki said he was going to check on a friend's campsite to see if everything was okay, and that he would soon be back again. Michael decided to follow Loki to the campsite, and that's where it got really strange, as Michael put it. When they arrived, this campsite had a round gazebo named, I Dream of Genie Bottle, and that's how it looked like from the inside, as it turned out. While Michael and Loki were still standing outside, Loki told him that there were some people inside the genie bottle who were waiting to see him. Michael found this very curious, but he was also eager to see who they were. Well inside, Michael noticed it was a round structure with a beautiful bed in the middle, with beautiful fabrics, making up the whole interior. For some reason, once he got inside, Michael found it very disorienting, and sometimes he couldn't find the door back out. On the bed sat two people, a male and a female, but the strange thing was that Michael couldn't see their faces, everything from shoulders and up was blurry. He says he doesn't know if it was the lighting, but their faces were dwelled in shadows and couldn't be distinguished at all. The male asked Michael to sit down, so he took the beanbag directly in front of the circular bed the two strange people were sitting on, and at the same time Loki exited the gazebo. The male asked Michael if he had performed any of the rituals on site, or walked the labyrinth yet, which he told the male he hadn't, and didn't even know what they were. The male then asked him what he was there for in the first place. You know what is going on around here, right? Michael told him he doesn't buy into that ritual stuff, and the male said, great. Me neither. There are some strange people doing strange things around here, don't you think? At that time, Loki returned and told the two on the bed that this was Michael Lee Hill, who had filmed the UFOs over Lake Erie. Then, the male's demeanor totally changed, and he said, have you ever heard of Coast to Coast radio show? Michael told him yes, and that he'd actually been on it. The male went on saying that there had recently been a man on that show named David Sarada, who was talking about a testimony from a senior scientist from Lockheed Martin, whose name was Boyd Bushman 8. He said this Bushman information, which had now been released, had upset many insiders, and he wanted to know if Michael knew anything about that. At this point, Michael was beginning to freak out, but felt he needed to be honest, so he said he does know something about it, because it was in his film, From Here to Andromeda. The male seemed really shocked and asked who brought this person to him. Apparently, he also started throwing out some threats towards Michael and Bushman. He then seems to calm down and said that they needed to find out how much Michael knew, and that they were going to do some experiments on him, and that it wouldn't hurt. A few new people entered the gazebo and performed some kind of mind-reading procedure on Michael, with devices which read/manipulated his third eye. One device looked like a small wand with a bright purple/blue LED on top of it. Michael could feel it, and he says it actually felt pretty good. Then they had what appeared to be shiny, flashing instruments and laser pointers, and they told him they were going to remove some memory blocks. The procedures they used on Michael were not painful at all, and when they were done, the male said, I heard that you wanted to meet us? And that you have filmed our craft. This is when Michael was told he was sitting before the king of the Anunnaki. The actual name of the person was never given to Michael, but after all that went down, he had all the reasons to believe this male was Marduk himself, who is the one and only king of the Anunnaki on earth. Marduk continued, saying that Michael is part of this ruling family as well, the Serpent Clan faction supporting Marduk, and that it was a great synchronicity that he was led there, because now a meeting could take place between them all over a change in Anunnaki leadership, with a new time arriving for mankind with a new game plan to discuss. They told Michael that he and someone else were incarnated here now, at this time as humans, as opposed to Anunnaki, to be here for the end time changes. Could this someone else actually be Terrell Copeland? Loki then intervened and said he had spoken to Michael already, and they both thought mankind is ready for open contact with races from other worlds and dimensions, and become members of the galactic community. Michael spoke up as well, agreeing with Loki, and adding that mankind needs to be released from the bondage that had kept them in survival mode, that it's time that we humans get the chance to reach our true potentials. The male on the bed, Marduk, listened while Michael and Loki were talking and then said, "If that's how you feel, let's do it." Michael asked, "When?" And Marduk replied, "Obviously before 2012. He said this in a tone of voice like if it was a silly question and that it was quite self-explanatory. So it seems, Michael is telling me, that there will be an open first contact with the Anunnaki sometime before 2012. The meeting was coming towards an end, and Michael asked if he could see their faces, and they said, "No, you will see our faces, tomorrow." Then they added that they needed to talk about a change in Anunnaki leadership. Apparently, and this was in summer of 2008, they were about to change kings. Michael admits this sounds crazy, but that's what happened, and in one way or another, he is involved in this process, and he still doesn't know how and why, and has no idea how to process this within himself. As they were about to leave the genie bottle, the Anunnaki hybrid, Loki, walked over to Marduk, whom Michael got the feeling had tears in his eyes. Loki put his arm around Marduk and said with the most loving voice, "Don't worry, now you can finally rest, my king." The male Anunnaki leader king followed Michael out, and Michael thought, screw it, let his curiosity take overhand and took a chance to sneak a peek at Marduk's face. First off, he noticed Marduk was wearing a glowing, white hooded robe and his face was not human. Michael describes it as looking wavy with very sculpted features, quite like a gargoyle, but actually very beautiful. He was not scary looking at all. The strangest thing was that the Anunnaki leader seemed not to be physical, but appeared to be transparent. I asked Michael if he could draw a picture of the gargoyle face, but he told me he can't draw it all. I sent him 6 or 7 pictures that are in public domain and asked him if any of them corresponds with what he saw, and this is what he told me about. The next morning, still at the Sirius festival, Michael woke up and poured some water over his head. When he looked up, he saw a male and a female walking up to his tent on the dirt road, and he instantly knew it was the Anunnaki leader and his female follower, consort. Now they looked very human. The male stopped in front of Michael and said, "Good morning, Commander Michael." Marduk, here walking around on the festival campus amongst all the celebrating people who had no idea who he was, still had the sculpted facial features, but they were subdued, and he had the most radiant blue eyes. He and Michael spent most of that day together, and he offered to make Michael dinner. Michael took him up on it. The meal was awesome, as Michael put it, lamb with okra and curry sauce. They talked, and Michael says Marduk was really a beautiful soul. He asked the Anunnaki leader what he was going to do about the Boyd Bushman issue, the information being revealed in Michael's film. Marduk said that now when they knew Michael is one of them, they will not be able to touch him, so he was told not to worry about it. This was Michael's first meeting with the Anunnaki,